If your escape sounds like that, you need to stop driving it immediately. It's time for a water pump. Today's video, we're going to be replacing a water pump on a 2011 Ford Escape 3-liter V6 engine. You can see it right down there in that hole. Right on down in there. Get this thing in the garage and start taking it apart. Here's all the tools that you're going to need today. We've got a pair of scissors or snips, flathead screwdriver, or I got a little drill here with a 8mm socket on it, 3/8 ratchet, 8mm socket. I got a 3-inch extension with a little swivel end, razor blade, a small flathead screwdriver, and a pair of pliers for spring clamps. Set of channel locks will work also. Also have a bungee cord back there to hold hoses out of the way. Now go ahead and put the coolant drain pan or bucket under the passenger side front of the radiator. Now loosen up your radiator drain plug. You have to adjust your drain pan to catch the coolant. Next, loosen up both clamps on your intake tube. Disconnect the mass airflow sensor. Remove the intake tube from the throttle body and air filter box. Disconnect the hose from the bottom of the intake tube and set intake tube aside. Next, take your snips and cut the water pump belt off, then pull the belt out. Take your pliers and compress the spring clamp on the upper hose and slide the clamp down. Do the same with the clamp on the lower hose. Now take a small flathead screwdriver and break the seal on the coolant hose. Be careful not to puncture the hose. Now twist the hose left and right as you pull out on it, and it should break free. Repeat the same process for the lower hose. Take your 3/8 ratchet with 3-inch extension and 8mm socket and loosen the bottom two bolts. Remove the extension and loosen the top bolt. Now with the bolts loose, you should be able to spin them out by hand. Be sure to put a bucket under the water pump to catch any coolant that leaks out of the water pump housing. And as you see here, the stock water pump here that we just pulled off, it is very tight. I mean, it's almost locked up. Takes about all my grip to turn it at all. It actually freezing up there, but it's really tough. New water pump that we picked up from Advanced Auto. I mean, as you can see, it just spins with little resistance there. And again, pumper replacing. Gotta add a few grunts and let y'all know how hard it is. There you go. Now let's throw this thing back together. Make sure the water pump housing is clean before installing new pump. Snug all bolts down by hand before torquing them. Replace coolant hoses and clamps in reverse order that we took them off. Add coolant to the coolant reservoir and make sure not to add more than what you drained out. You do not want to overfill. Now check the water pump for any leaks. Take your new belt and wrap around the water pump pulley and the top half of the cam pulley. Take a zip tie and tie the belt to the pulley as tight as you can. Crank the engine over, but do not start. Hook up the hose to the bottom of your intake tube and reinstall the intake tube and tighten up clamps. Reconnect the mass airflow sensor. Start the engine and check for any coolant leaks. Just got back from driving it down the road just to get all the air out of the lines, and looks like everything's good to go. I'm gonna let it cool down and top off the coolant reservoir, and then looks like we're good. If this video helped you at all, give me a like down below, and thank you for watching.